Got my Mexican Coke. I'm gonna be bouncing off the walls. Hello everyone, it's Mermaid and Mira, and I thought today I'd talk about my story of how I got into mermaiding. You know, it is something that I get asked quite a lot from people who meet me as a mermaid, just when I'm out and about, or after people get to know me and they find out that part of me, they're like, well, how did you even start that? Like, what got you into that? Did you just really like The Little Mermaid? Not that I didn't like The Little Mermaid, but it has been a long time. It's been a very long time. I'm gonna be 27 this year, and that's a little crazy when I say that out loud. 27. Okay, well, I'll process that later. I am gonna be 27 this year, and I started mermaiding at 7 years old. And of course, I played mermaids in the pool. I have a very distinct memory of playing mermaids at one of the pools at Disney World as a kid. When I was about 5, I have a distinct memory of still being in a life vest and trying to keep my feet together and play mermaids in the pool. And I remember having that's a very good memory. But of course, we've all played mermaids, right? I made some very stupid choices. Don't do the things that I did. Disclaimer here, I did things that were not safe to try to pretend to be a mermaid. I would take a diving ring and shove my feet through it, and to the point where it was tight against my skin, so my legs were forcibly locked, and then I would swim like that. Don't do that. And I mean, there are some other MERS out there that have shared their stories of I would take a bed sheet and duct tape and all these things. I'm I think anybody that did start mermaiding as a child usually ended up doing something that was not safe. There are more things nowadays that if there is a child that is interested in mermaiding or getting into it, there are companies that have safe products to use. Just go buy it. Don't do random dumb things, please. My interest in being a mermaid was always there. Playing mermaids, doing unsafe things to feel like a mermaid. And the early days of YouTube, I remember always going on YouTube for real existence of mermaids and fairies and stuff, the found footage and things like that. And I came across, video of a girl in her pool at her house in a very basic tale. And when I say that as just it was just a solid color, probably some kind of swimsuit fabric, in a pool just swimming back and forth. And I remember going that's a thing. I could do that. This girl's doing it. That means I could do it. And I remember calling my parents over to the computer screen, and I was look, how did she do this? I want to do this. And they said, well, it looks like simple enough to sew something like that together. Maybe we talk to your grandma and maybe she can help you with that. And growing up, my grandmother's name was Mom Rose. Even saying the word grandmother feels weird because that was never her name. She just went by Mom Rose. So when I say that is my grandmother. Growing up, my sister and I would spend weekends at Mom Rose's house and just quality time, with Mom Rose. And sometimes it would just be my sister, sometimes it would just be me, sometimes it would be both of us. And at that time, I think it was just me that weekend where I brought it up to her, and she did that for me. We went to the store and we picked out fabrics, and we made a template, I believe, out of newspaper and traced it. We bought elastic for the band. She was an amazing person. She was amazing because there was just this little girl that had a dream of being a mermaid, and she didn't even hesitate. She did not hesitate. I remember when we went to the store, we ended up buying 3 different fabrics. So she actually made me 3 tails: a hot pink one, a light sky blue, and a gold one. Can you tell what my favorite color is? Can you tell I love my yellow and my gold? Funny enough, the pink one was made first, so I did get very emotionally attached, I believe, to that one, and I think I destroyed that one first. Pink is not my color at all, but I think because it was the first first one, it got me very excited, so I did get hooked to that one. And she also made me like matching little tops out of it. Like she did so much. Like she made like matching tops, so like the top would match the tail. But here's the thing, I was a kid. I did not know how it actually worked. Again, not safe. Do not do this. I just put the tail on, almost like a pillowcase. I just put fabric that is closed at the bottom on my legs and went into the water. It did feel that feeling of like, I'm a mermaid, but I also was kind of like, something's not right here. Like, what is it that those people online have, like, that fills the tail part, like the fluke part? Like, what is that? And then I started learning that monofins were a thing. As time went on, you know, I was looking at like finding out mermaid tails, and so of course I found Mertailer. I found a lot of mermaid tail companies. But you're a kid and your parents are like, I'm not gonna spend money on this toy for you that like you're just in this phase, you might grow out of it. Once I figured out that monofins were a thing, and like looking at more like mermaid tail stuff on YouTube and like learning how do people make tails and all these kind of things, of course Mertailer was there, and of course I would look at that site, but I knew my parents would never get me that, because it was not that it was outrageously expensive. Like, I mean, looking back then, a Mertailer silicone tail was like $950. Like, I have a very vivid memory as a child looking at that, going like $950 for like this silicone mermaid tail. Like, I didn't even know what silicone was, but it made it look real, right? I did end up finding a site though that sold very simple mermaid tails, kind of like the one that I saw that girl swim in online. And I don't think that this place even exists anymore, but the video is still on YouTube. Like, you can find it. I can verify this. I checked the other day. Mermagica. In one of the shots of like one of the girls in the tails was like a gold tail, and I was like, a gold mermaid tail. It came with a monofin, and I believe it was like $100. And I remember begging my mom. Eventually I did get the Mermagica tail, and it was gold, and I loved it. I was obsessed. I had the monofin, so I remember like thinking like, oh, this monofins are awesome, you know, because I can go so fast. That tail got destroyed. I think it didn't even last like the second summer. I wore that thing out in the heels like so fast. And of course back then I didn't have a very big pool. My grandmother did, but it's not like I could always go to my grandmother's house. So we had a small pool where I was like probably scuffing it, and yeah. But you know what? It was deeply loved. That gold tail, I would put it on and watch H2O in the living room. Just, I'd wear that in the house. I'd wear it in the pool. I was very happy with it. And of course it didn't, you know, it lasted one summer, and the next summer it wasn't swimmable anymore. I remember like thinking of like, I want another one, and I think my parents were like, okay, well, you're gonna pay for it this time. So I had to like wait to save up money. I still had the monofin, so I was kind of getting the feeling of mermaiding, even though I didn't have like the tail on and stuff. Eventually I did get another tail from Mermagica. I don't know why I picked it. Again, like, it's like as a kid you look back, you're like, why did I pick those colors? Because it's definitely not like something I would go towards now. But it was like a blue and green like striped fabric, and I do actually have that. I went and got it. Yeah, this is the skin. My mom found this a couple years ago, and I kept it because I was like, this is a memory, guys. This was my second tail from mermagica.com. Like, it's like a striped fabric, and yep, my fingers just went to the tear holes. This thing was loved. Can you tell this thing was loved? Like I said, a very, very basic, like, obviously this is where the monofin went, and it's like the shape. So there was like some flow, you know, very, very, very simple tail. You can see the difference of the quality here versus all the wear and tear here. I remember I did take this to the beach in Florida as a tween. While I actively had this one, I was definitely obsessed with the Mertailer site. I would just go to his website and be like, one day I can get one of these tails. And of course, I think I would still try to beg my parents. Understandably, they were like, no, you're still growing. If we got you that, that's a lot of money for something that you can't even like use long term. They were very convinced that this was something that I would grow out of, that it was just a phase, something that I wouldn't care about in a couple years, I guess. I remember them telling me, when you're older, and if you still want that, you can save up your money and you can buy it yourself. And I said, okay, I will. And I did, because my tail's right up on that wall. Like my gold, beautiful Mernation tail is just right up on that wall looking back at me. So yes, I did. Mom and Dad, never growing up. No, not when it comes to mermaid stuff. Nope, that is part of me. That is my heart and my soul. It's just funny to look back on because, you know, they really did think that I was gonna grow up and not care about mermaiding like I did then, but it's only gotten like 10 times worse in that regard. I have spent so much money on mermaid stuff. Ooh. And it got into my teen years, and I should disclose that I did not tell people. If I did, it was rare if I opened up about my mermaid stuff. Kids can be so awful, judgmental, and they're always about like, that's baby stuff, that's childish, and so I never wanted to even risk being made fun of, so I didn't talk about it with anybody unless I was very close with them. And of course, I got to like tween age, and then of course like the judgment's there even more. The more you're close to being a teenager, the more judgment is going to come with stuff like that. So I really didn't disclose it to many. I had this tail like as a tween going into teen world, and honestly I think the reason this thing isn't completely like just gaping hole here like the gold one ended up being is because I think the monofin strap broke. I think around the time I was 16 I saw a Mahina monofin, and I was able to convince my mom to order it for me, and I have the orange one, and she is old. Oh my gosh, she's like 10 years old. Oh man. She's been through stuff. Like I can't even really wear her anymore because she's like kind of cracked and brittle because again, I was younger and I didn't take care of things how I should have. Please take care of your mermaid stuff because it is kind of sad that I'm like, I could use that, but it's just gonna hurt my feet at this point. I had the Mahina, and like that kind of like through high school and college kind of filled the void of not having an actual tail. And when we get to college, it gets a little bit sad here, but that's okay. I ended up having some health issues, and unfortunately I did not have the best doctors, and they did not listen to me or actually care, and so I ended up getting way sicker, and because the doctors didn't actually care or listen to me, I had more irreversible damage done, and I was only 19. It's like disheartening for anybody to, you know, not be heard when they're medically struggling, and actively it's known like, hey, this person has this condition, and to just be like waved away is awful. I was so sick I couldn't do anything really. Getting through college alone, full-time college, I never took less than 16 hours, and I had a job my freshman year, and then I studied abroad in Europe, and I got really sick in Europe, but like I was in Europe, so I didn't care. I was just like, yeah, like I'm dying inside, but oh, like I'm here. And you know, a lot of chronic illnesses, you can't see them from the outside, so yeah, I was in a lot of pain. Like I couldn't focus on mermaiding then, and I know, you know, I didn't have the spoons to do that. Looking at Mertailor's site and being like, I'm gonna save up my money eventually and I'm gonna get this like Mertailor tail. There was a point where I thought maybe I couldn't do it anymore. I think I was just in such a sick, chronically ill, like bad mood, bad mindset, bitter about everything after everything I kind of went through and experienced, where I wasn't sure if I was ever gonna get a silicone tail. Like I just got like really negative, and I'm just like, I don't even know, like, you know, like I was like, so much money, how am I ever gonna afford it, da 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 da. Almost all 4 years of college were a healing journey, but here's where it gets lighter. Junior and senior year of college, I went back home and lived with Mom Rose for a summer, and I ended up working at a Sonic down the street from her house, and I was like, if I work all summer, I can get not a silicone mermaid tail from the Mertailor, but I can get like a fabric tail and a monofin from him. So I ended up getting the yellow koi mermaid tail from Mertailor. Finally, after probably like maybe close to 10 years of not having an actual tail, I had a tail again, and that was lovely. While I had the Mertailor tail, my sister ended up talking to me. She's just like, you know, you can't be the only one around here that's into mermaiding. And I had maybe met like one or two throughout my upbringing that were also interested in it, but like it was not a lot of people. You know, talking with my sister, and my sister was like, you can't be the only one that's into this. Like, I'm sure there's a community somewhere. So she actually did help me find a local pod. I finally got to join the mermaid community in 2018. Through that experience, like there was a mer who was very kind and let me try her silicone tail, and then I knew I had to have a silicone tail because it felt amazing. The tail was a little big on me, but even then I knew I needed it. I knew I was like, okay, I have a goal now. I have a big girl job now. I am going to do this. In 2020, when I met my now husband, I remember like one of the first conversations I had with him is like, I'm really obsessed with mermaids, and just so you know, I will probably be spending a ton of money on a silicone tail in the future, so if that's going to be a problem, we cannot be together. My apologies, I had to deal with something, but I'm back now. At the beginning of 2022, I just was like, I'm doing it, like now. So I reached out to Mer Nation, actually. They're very sweet to work with. They even helped me find, I believe it's Abby Tails, who I got to have like a nice Discord call with, and we discussed like what I wanted my tail to look like. So it was really cool to like make the tail look exactly how I wanted. That tail got made really quick. I reached out in March and had it by August, which was amazing. And the whole time they were emailing me updates and sending pictures of like every step of the process. And so I was watching my child be born. It's crazy. 3 years of Evmira being around. I came up with that name in, gosh, high school. I came up with Evmira in high school because I started writing mermaid stories. There was a girl that I was friends with who also did mermaiding, and we kind of talked about like what our mermaid names would be. So when I made that name, it was like also my name, but also the character of a mermaid that I made for like a story that I would write in my free time in high school when I was bored and did not want to pay attention in class. And then back in college, when I found the local pod, is when I was like, okay, I will end up like, you know, making mermaid media. Like I'll get an Instagram, and then I can like start like, you know, being friends with other mermaids and really get into the mermaid communities. A majority of my mermaiding life has been solo. I'm grateful that I have gotten to experience so much. From meeting a local pod, meet another local mer sparkles, and her sharing the understanding of being a landlocked mermaid, and getting to really meet my mer-sisters through that process, getting my mermaid patty certification, and bringing my mer baby that I brought into this to join me on these journeys. Just getting to live my mermaid dreams. I know that little me would have never thought I probably would have gotten to do this much. I think inner child work is very important, and when it comes to things that I care about doing as hobbies, I realize that it's always letting my inner child play. So the mermaiding, I mean, it's escapism, but yes, it's also like letting the inner child play. I get to connect with the things I love and care about most. And, you know, I feel like if she was in front of me right now and I could be like, look at all these things that you're gonna do. Look at the experiences that you're gonna have. Maybe it sounds cheesy, but mermaiding is definitely important to me for a multitude of reasons. And I just know that little me would be so floored by where she ended up as an adult. So yeah, I don't think I really have anything else. Gosh, it's crazy. 20 years. I should do something special for that. I should do something special for my like 20th mermaid birthday. If that's even a thing, I'll make it a thing. But yeah, that is my story of how I got into mermaiding and became Mermaid of Mira. So, yeah, it makes me happy to talk about. It really does. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Who is she? Oh, wait a minute. Is it a flower? I have like so much stuff. Just on my coffee table. This is what happens when I drink Mexican Coke. I get like weird.